Melda Hayes, a painter in her 60s, had always been a fortress of pragmatism. Recently retired from a grinding accounting job in Miami's urban sprawl, she'd weathered 14 years of widowhood since her husband's sudden heart attack with a steely resolve. Her vibrant cityscape paintings, jagged lines, and neon chaos had been her lifeline, but she scoffed at anything supernatural. "Ghosts are for the gullible," she'd snap, dismissing coworkers' tales of hauntings. Craving silence to paint serene landscapes, she sold her condo and scoured listings for a quiet retreat. Havens End, Maine, a forgotten town cloaked in fog, offered a Victorian house at an unbelievable price. The realtor, a nervous woman with darting eyes, explained the deal. The previous owner, Ellen, wanted out after her husband died in a car crash on Oak Street just weeks prior. At the closing, Ellen, gaunt and trembling, gripped Melda's arm, her voice a rasp. "Drive safe out there. Please." Her hollow eyes bored into Melda, who brushed it off as grief-fueled hysteria. The house, with its sagging gables and warped floorboards, was a steal, a perfect canvas for her new life. Havens End was a bleak scar on the earth. Pines loomed like skeletal sentinels, their whispers carried by a wind that never stilled. The town's single diner served bitter coffee under flickering bulbs. The church's crooked steeple cast jagged shadows, and the general store's clerk stared with a knowing smirk. Neighbors were an odd breed. Mrs. Gentry, a frail widow, delivered a pie but muttered about locking windows at night and watching the shadows. Tom, a grizzled fisherman, glanced at Melda's house like it was cursed, his warnings about staying off Oak Street clipped and cryptic. Melda ignored them, her mind on her goal: to paint the misty cliffs and brooding forests, to capture silence in greens and grays for a gallery show that would define her retirement. She turned the attic into a studio where dim light seeped through a cracked skylight and began sketching. Her canvases, meant to be tranquil, turned dark, mossy greens bleeding into charcoal as if the town's gloom infected her brush. 3 weeks passed in a fragile calm. Melda memorized the town's fog-choked roads, each turn a maze of gray. Her paintings grew moodier, the cliffs jagged, the forests alive with unseen eyes. She shook off the unease, blaming the town's oppressive air. Then, at 11:53 p.m., driving home through a fog so thick it swallowed her headlights, a car barreled through a stop sign on Oak Street. It slammed into her sedan, metal shrieking, glass exploding into a glittering storm. The wreckage was grotesque, dashboard crushed, tires shredded, her car a twisted corpse. Yet Melda crawled out, untouched, her breath steady in the biting dark. "Dumb luck," she growled, waving off the paramedics' ashen faces. The night pulsed with wrongness, like a predator watching, but Melda buried the thought, her skepticism a shield. That night, at 11:53 p.m., the hallway light to her bedroom blazed on, its yellow glow rancid, like a festering wound. Melda, ripped from sleep, stumbled to the switch, her heart thudding. The light buzzed, a low, guttural hum that clawed at her nerves. She flipped it off, fingers trembling. "Shoddy wiring," she muttered, but her voice was a thin thread. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind wrestling with the timing, 11:53 p.m., the exact moment of the crash. It was a coincidence. It had to be. She'd built her life on logic, on numbers that balanced, on canvases she controlled. The idea of something else, something beyond reason, made her stomach churn. The next night, she braced herself, sitting in the dark, eyes fixed on the hallway. At 11:53 p.m., the light snapped on, harsh and unyielding, casting shadows that seemed to writhe. Melda's breath caught, her pulse a drumbeat in her skull. She lunged for the switch, the buzz louder now, like a swarm of insects trapped in the walls. "It's just a fault," she whispered, but the words felt hollow, a lie to keep her sanity intact. She checked the wiring herself, her accountant's precision guiding her hands, but found nothing, no loose connections, no frayed cables. The house was mocking her, its silence heavier, darker than before. By the third night, Melda's skepticism was a fraying rope. She sat in the living room, a flashlight clutched like a weapon, staring at the hallway's black maw. The clock ticked closer to 11:53 p.m., each second a hammer on her nerves. Her mind screamed for answers, bad wiring, a prank, anything but the impossible. At 11:53 p.m., the light blazed, its glow not just sickly but alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. The buzz was a growl now, vibrating in her bones. Melda froze, her flashlight beam trembling, catching dust motes that danced like souls trapped in amber. She forced herself to the switch, her hand shaking so badly she nearly missed it. The light died, but the air stayed thick, oppressive, as if the house had exhaled something foul. She sank to the floor, her breath ragged, her mind a storm of denial and dread. "I'm not crazy," she whispered, but the words were a plea, not a fact. Sleep became a ghost. The house turned predator. Lights flickered at random, plunging rooms into a black so deep it felt like drowning. Whispers, wet, guttural, like voices choked by mud, slithered from the walls, words she couldn't grasp but felt like accusations. Footsteps stalked her, creaking behind her, stopping when she spun around, heart in her throat. The air reeked of rot, a damp decay that clung to her skin. Always, she felt watched, a gaze so heavy it pressed against her spine. In the attic, her paintings betrayed her, forests became faces, hollow-eyed and gaping, their mouths stretched in silent screams she hadn't painted. She covered them, but the canvas edges seemed to pulse under the cloth. One night, a kitchen window reflected a face, not hers, but lipless, its sockets voids, gone when she screamed. Her rationality was crumbling, a house of cards in a gale. Melda's fear grew teeth. She stopped painting, her hands too unsteady, her mind too fractured. Every night, she waited for 11:53 p.m., the light's ritual a knife twisting in her psyche. She tried leaving the switch off, but it flicked on anyway, defying physics, defying her. She unplugged every lamp, but the hallway glowed regardless, its light seeping under her bedroom door like poison. She taped the switch down, only to hear it click free in the dark. Each time, the buzz grew louder, a chorus of unseen things clawing at her sanity. She saw the faces everywhere now, in mirrors and shadows, in the grain of the floorboards, pale, eyeless, their mouths moving as if begging her to see. Her skepticism, once her armor, was gone. She was naked, exposed, a woman drowning in a world she didn't believe in. She called an electrician, a skeletal man with eyes like pits. He poked at the wires, his hands shaking, and whispered, "Nothing's wrong. This house, it's fine." He fled, his truck peeling out like he'd seen the devil. Melda's fear turned to rage. She couldn't live in this nightmare. She called a realtor, her voice raw. "Sell this hellhole," she demanded. The realtor's reply was a sledgehammer. "It's already listed." "Your cousin called days ago." Melda's blood froze. "I have no cousins." The realtor stammered. "It's under your name." Melda hung up, her hands ice, her mind screaming. "This isn't my world." Her laptop was her last anchor. Haven's End was a crypt of horrors. A blog, Haven's Shadows, cataloged a decade of deaths on Oak Street, shopkeepers, nurses, drifters, all crushed at 11:53 p.m., their cars mangled like hers. Photos mirrored her wreck, down to the shattered glass. Forums spoke of a figure, a skeletal wraith with no eyes, stealing souls at that cursed hour. A sketch showed it, void-faced, ringed by faces, pale, screaming, the same faces haunting her house. Melda's heart stopped. She'd seen them in her paintings, her mirrors, her nightmares. An article shattered her. Local woman, Melda Hayes, killed in car crash on Oak Street, 11:53 p.m. She was dead, trapped in a limbo spun by this house, this street, this thing. The air turned to frost. A voice, venomous and hollow, hissed, "You're free to go now, Melda." Terror choked her. From the hallway's black maw, a figure emerged, skeletal, its face a yawning void, radiating a hunger that burned her soul. Around it, faces bloomed, the shopkeeper, the nurse, the drifter, their hollow eyes pleading, mouths writhing in silent agony. They were its prey, and Melda was next. She backed away, her scream trapped in her throat, but the figure glided closer, its void face devouring her fear. The victims' faces pulsed, their silent screams a deafening chorus. Melda's body unraveled into cold, searing light, her mind fracturing as she glimmered away, swallowed by the abyss, leaving the hallway light burning at 11:53 p.m., waiting for its next soul.